Hello, hello, hello. I am Andrew Hochradel, and this is your creative challenge for today. We're going to be talking about Creative Cloud libraries and how you can link objects across multiple platforms. I know that around me it is very orange. We usually stay in Illustrator. Today we will be in Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, all over the place. We'll be using stock a little bit. So let's hop in. If you would like to join me, you can go ahead and download the source file down in the description, and it looks just like this. It doesn't look like a great source file. There's even a spelling error on here, but that's exactly the point, because today I'm going to be showing you how easy it is to use Creative Cloud libraries across multiple apps and start here in Adobe Illustrator. So what we're going to do first is we are going to start using our Creative Cloud libraries. We are going to go ahead and grab the selection tool right here, and we're going to click and drag and select both the circle and the text. Okay, so circle and the text looks good to me. And I'm just going to scale this up a little bit, right? I'm going to scale this up to fit. That looks pretty good to me, actually. So with this selected, I'm going to click and drag over into my libraries panel. Now the libraries panel has a bunch of stuff in it that I'm just going to delete. Bye. If you don't see the libraries panel, you can go to Window and then scroll down to Libraries right here. So this is the most important part of this lesson, is to grab these two pieces and bring them over into our Creative Cloud library. Wow, we did it. Lesson over. We completed the journey. Kidding. So let's go ahead and just double click to rename this. And we're going to rename this Badge. Now, what we're going to be creating today is we are going to make a little travel postcard using these Creative Cloud libraries. Now, I have this here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Adobe Stock. So stock.adobe.com. And here's a little hack for you. /free. So stock.adobe.com/free will only filter to free results. So I'm going to go ahead and type in travel. We're going to make a little slide here. And I think that I'm thinking about where my badge is, or it's a big badge that sits in the middle. Let's go ahead and do this one. I think this looks good. So from here, all I need to do is click on license for free. And that looks great. And you can see that it has been licensed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this in the library that I've been using. And I think that I have a library that it just says live. And I think that that's the one that I was using. Actually, let's go ahead and check in Illustrator. Brand. Brand is what it was called. So I can scroll back up here and we can find the one that has brand. So click right there. And it will auto-save the download into that brand. Watch. If I come back into Illustrator, 3, 2, 1, magic. It should show up here in just a second. But what matters is we are going to be taking this over into Photoshop, right? So Illustrator is vector-based. Photoshop is pixel-based. And we want to be using some pixels. So the difference between that is when you are working with images, you want to be working in Photoshop. When you are working with crisp, clean kind of vectors, you do want to be working over in Illustrator. So let's go ahead. Let me look at why this isn't syncing. The cool thing is it downloaded as well. So it may be that I saved to library. Let's try that. There we go. Save to default library brand. Let's come back into Illustrator, see if it shows up here. Come on, brand. I believe in you. All right. So what's cool is it downloaded it. So we're going to come over into Photoshop and I'm just going to click and drag that in. So I'm going to go here. Actually, we don't have to do this because of the new contextual toolbar. Magic. We can click right here on import image. And I'm going to go over into my downloads real quick. And we're going to click here to place. And it's going to place this image in the downloads right there for me. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and crop this up a little bit right there. And now I'm going to use libraries over in Photoshop to just place our little like badge that we made. So we're going to go in here, we're going to click on brand, and this little badge, I'm going to click and drag over here. All right, so this already looks pretty good. I'm going to hit enter, and boom. our design is done. Not quite. But we are also going to be doing this over in InDesign. So I'm going to show you all the workflows. You don't necessarily have to do all the workflows, but I'm going to show them all to you. So I'm just going to place an image over here in InDesign, and we are going to use that same image that we just had right here. I am going to size that to fill, and then we are going to grab our CC libraries right here. It's going to load in, and we can click on that brand that we have right here and click and drag this onto the document as well. All right, so we've got all of these different formats. We have it over here in InDesign. We also have it over in Photoshop. Looking good, but we are working today in Illustrator. So let's go ahead and first of all, just fix what's happening in this. Now, you want to work, there is a desire for you to work in this source file. That is the wrong answer in this case. You actually want to double click right here on the actual badge that's in the library. So when we double click on the badge in the library, it's going to pull it up scaled perfectly to the edge. And I think this looks pretty good. So from here, I can start working, and I'm going to scale this out a little bit. And I'm actually going to change this to be aligned on the line. And this is type on a path. So we can go to type on a path options, and set this to the center. And you can preview it, hit OK. I'm going to open up my type tool right here and just increase the tracking on this. Oops. There we go. All right, looks good. I'm going to delete this exclamation mark, and we're going to fix that spelling just using the type tool. So we're going to say, see the world, and then we're going to say, maybe it's like a two name thing. See the world and taste the flavors. We're doing a little tour to eat around the world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to edit, copy, and then edit, paste in place. And then I'm going to grab this node right here and just click and drag, and you can see it's dragging my type around that kind of object center. And sometimes it gets a little bit jumpy. I just kind of shake it until it works. I don't know if there's a better way to do that. Sometimes it jumps to not the right part, but I want that to be on the inside right here. So we're going to type in taste the flavor. Cool. All right, continuing on, let's go ahead and add in some little dots here. I'm going to hit L to use the ellipse tool. And we're going to add in just a little dot right there and then drag it over. And to make sure that it's perfectly aligned on the circle, we can actually hit Control Y, and that will take us into outline mode. And now I can move this, make sure I'm perfectly hitting that circle, and line it up looking good. All right, so with this, sorry, it was bothering me that these were not looking right. Huh? All right, we'll leave it there. All right, so we have that there. That looks good. And now I want to increase the width of this. So I'm going to grab my stroke tool. I'm going to increase the width right here. All right, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. And then maybe I want to do another piece inside. So all I'm going to do is grab the outside stroke, and I'm going to scale this down. And what's interesting is it gets smaller when I scale it down, and I don't want that. So I'm going to hit Control or Command K, or I'm going to go up here to File and then go to, Andrew, where is it? Window, help, updates. I don't know where it is. Anyway, the hotkey is Command K. It's your preferences. So it's Command or Control K. Sometimes I only know the hotkeys for these things. And I'm going to turn off scale strokes and effects. So we're going to hit OK. And now you see when I scale it down, it will keep that same thickness, which is what I want. So it's not scaling down the stroke. It's just scaling down the shape that the stroke is applied to. So we've got this nice little badge working here. Looks good to me. And now let's find something to go in the middle here. And what's cool is because this is a linked object, we can actually use Adobe Stock, whatever we want inside of this object. So I, of course, want to do a plane. We are going to click on vectors, and then it will make sure that I only have vector planes. I like this one right here, so we're going to license that. And in theory, this should be saving to my Creative Cloud library. So let's see if it showed up in there this time. Coming back into Illustrator, we're going to open up our libraries over here on the right. Still not there. Weird. Not sure what's happening. It's probably a syncing issue on my computer, but that's fine because we have it downloaded. Yay. So we're going to go over into our downloads, and I'm just going to open up that Adobe stock. All right, so we got that opened. What happened there? Get over there. So we have our little Adobe stock here of the plane, and I'm going to paste this into our design. All right. That looks pretty cool. I'm going to have it overlap a little bit. And then maybe here, I want to add in some color. Let's do that. I think that would be kind of cool. So let's go ahead and add some color on the type. And what I like to do is I will select everything here and then deselect the things I don't want. So type on a path can be a little bit finicky when you're trying to work and make selections because it is double type on the same path kind of slammed on top of each other. So what I'm going to do is just select everything and then deselect the stuff I don't want. I'm going to come over to my color picker and we are going to get this nice dark blue. And then the outside, these strokes, I want to make a nice bright red. Yeah. And then maybe this inside, I also want to be this red color. Now, here's a little hack. If you have an object selected and you click on a stroke, it is going to turn that into a stroke. That is not what we want. But if you hold shift, what that's going to do is it's only going to pick up the color and it's going to apply for what you have selected. So, oops, Andrew, what is happening? There we go. So if I have this object selected, hold shift, and then go over to the edge of this stroke, it is going to pick up that red as the fill by holding shift. If you don't hold shift, it will convert it to a stroke. But if you hold shift, it's only going to sample that color instead of the whole thing. So that's looking pretty good to me. Not mad about it at all. So let's go ahead and see where we are. So I'm going to hit Control S to save. And as you can see, this is a crazy name up here. And that's because we're working inside the linked object. Now, here's what's cool is now I can come over to Photoshop and watch what happened with no work at all. Updated. Let's go to InDesign. Updated. So every single place that this object has been placed on any document across the board, it will update depending on the changes that you make over in Illustrator, right? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. But for me, I do need to make a couple more detail changes. So because this is on white, but these are on a photo, I'm missing a little bit of definition. So I'm going to go ahead and fill one of these with white. Actually, let's fill both. So I'm going to select both of these. And again, I'm going to go to Edit Copy, Edit Paste in Place. And what that's going to do is it's going to make an exact copy. And you can see there that it offsets when I move it. It's making an exact copy exactly where it is. So I'm going to fill this with white, take away the stroke, and then just send it to the back. So now I have an object that is filled with white. Again, if you save, I'll open up Photoshop again. Boom. That's actually not what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and look by putting this on a dark background. So this will allow me to kind of see what's going on a little bit better. And what's happening is I didn't make this a compound path. So what I can do is I can select the back circle that we have as well as the front circle. So both of those white ones, we're going to go to we're going to undo this is what we're going to do. There we go. So with these two circles, we are going to have both of them selected and we are going to go to Object, we are going to go to Compound Path, and we are going to go to Make. And that will make it a compound path so that we won't have any issues with the center being knocked out. Now, I can send that to the back. I'll save it, and there we go. It is updated here in Adobe Photoshop. So that's looking pretty good. Not mad about it. I might want to add a white stroke around the plane. So let's do that real quick as well. And again, putting it on a dark background might be helpful for us to just see a little bit of contrast. All right, so with that stroke, we're going to go ahead and put a stroke on the outside. We can use our stroke panel right here to put it on the outside of that shape and just increase it until it looks good for us. All right, it's getting a little bit wonky on some of these letters. Now, there's something happening here that I don't like, and it is giving me a really, really hard, sharp edge what I can do is come over to my stroke panel and we can change these options to be a rounded joint. So I'm gonna click on rounded joint and it's gonna fix that for me just because I don't like the way that that was looking, kind of putting it together there. All right, something else that's happening. There's a weird overlap happening right here. And so what I can do is I can go to Object, Compound Path, and Make. Now we made it into a compound path. Now there's something weird happening here with my view. Let's go ahead and view. All right, it looked like Pixel Preview was on, but it's not. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and save it, open up Photoshop, and we have the background on there still. Let's go ahead and delete that. Let's save and check it out over in Photoshop. All right, we're looking pretty good there. Not mad about this at all. So what's cool about libraries is not only am I going to be able to put this in a bunch of places, I also can apply my effects. And if I was collaborating and sharing this with someone, it would make it so that they would update as well, right? So if I shared this file, it would update with them as well. So let's see what that looks like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send this to a friend to make sure that they can see my design. I'm going to go to Share. And then from here, I'm going to go to Share for Review. So I'm going to click on Share. And then I'm going to do Create Link. So it's going to save. Great. Oh, we don't have this saved. We don't have this saved anywhere. So I'm just going to do travel real quick. Hold with me. All right. So we're saving the document here. Looks good. And while we save this document, it is going to sync up to the cloud and is going to give me a link. So I can go ahead and hit Create Link, and from here, I am going to copy. And the cool thing is, you can do this in Illustrator as well. So you can do this InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, wherever you want. You can use Share for Review, and that will allow you to get feedback and update this with anyone that you want. So we're gonna go ahead and click on Copy. I'm gonna come over here into my browser, and we'll paste that in. All right, there we go. So it's here. So everything is here, and we can actually leave feedback here if we wanted to. So I could click, and maybe I could put in here, and maybe we want to do some texture. So let's make this look like a stamp. Let's make this look like a stamp. So we can hit Submit, and what's really cool is we can come back into Illustrator, and we can go to Window, and then come down here to Comments. Actually, sorry, we did a Photoshop. I can come back here, I can go to Window and then come down to Comments, and it's going to show up with that Share for Review with my comments live in my document. So if we zoom in here, check this out, you can see that there's a little pin right here. I can click on that and it will show me, let's make this a stamp. And I can say, sounds good. And that person that you're collaborating with just got an email that said, sounds good. You were collaborating and working with them to get that feedback. So I want to add some texture, and I know that I don't just want to add this texture on this one piece. I want to add the texture on all the pieces. And what's great is I can come in here again, go into my smart object right here, and we are going to grab a texture from Adobe Stock. So I'm going to do texture. I'm going to take away the vectors because we don't necessarily need that. And let's find, I think this one looks good. So I'm going to grab this. I've licensed it before, and I am going to go ahead and re-download for free. So we're downloaded for free. It is right there in my downloads. I can come back to Illustrator, and we're going to open it again just in my downloads right there. Click and drag. All right, so with this texture here, I'm actually going to use an opacity mask to get a really cool effect to make this look like it is a stamp. So with that texture over the whole thing, we are going to go up here and use Make Mask. So we're going to click on Make Mask, and all right, that's looking good, but not great. It's missing a lot of texture. So what I can do is actually invert this mask, and there we go. That's the texture that we want. So with the opacity right here, with it selected, you can see that you can either edit the texture. So I can click and drag this texture around. Maybe if I don't like a certain area that is looking too dense, too light, you can really mess around and move that piece, or you can come over and click on your design, which is what we want. That's looking good. So I want to add a little bit of wobble, a little bit of wobble, a little bit of a wiggle to this by going to Effect, distort and transform, and roughen. Let's make it really crazy, but let's take this down to 0.4, so very small. Let's go to smooth, and then change this to maybe 5, and that's how much wiggle we have. Let's actually take that up to like 20. There we go. And then 0.4, let's take this down to 0.2. 0.3. There we go. Now we've got a nice little kind of texture that looks a little bit more like a stamp. And what's cool is this is applying it to the white as well. We just can't see it. So I'm going to save. And then let's go ahead and start in a couple places. Let's start right here with our file. Oops. Let's actually, yeah, we haven't even looked at Photoshop yet. Let's go ahead and look at the Photoshop file that we have used share for review, right? And I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page, and it should, cross your fingers, everybody. Okay, hasn't updated. And that's because we haven't saved it in Photoshop yet. So we're going to go into Photoshop, boom, look at that texture. So very, very easy. We've got that texture. It is looking good. And now I can go ahead and just save this document. So we're going to Control S to save. And now everyone that has access to this document, when I refresh it, cross your fingers. Oh no. What is going on? We'll give it a second to sync. We'll come into InDesign. You can see that it is also updated here in InDesign. That looks pretty good. And Andrew, why is it not syncing over here in Photoshop? Let's give it a second to sync and to think about it. But share for review also is available over in Illustrator if we wanted to give them feedback on this document in particular. We can go to share, we can go to continue, and it is saved. We can do share for review here, and we can get their feedback on this design. There was one thing that was bugging me about this, and that is that the wiggle's not enough for me on the type. So again, we're going to select everything. Oops. Oh, it's grouped. Is it grouped? So when we applied this opacity mask, it actually grouped everything with it. So I can click on release, and now the opacity mask just kind of releases, and we can come in here and make the edits that we want. So this type was not as quite as wiggly as I want it to be. So I'm going to select both of those, and we are going to outline them. We're going to go to Object, Expand Appearance. And from there, oh, all right. Andrew's losing it right now. All right, here we go. We are going to turn off that effect that we have by going into our Appearance panel. So Appearance panel right up here, we have Roughen. I'm going to select that and delete it. And now there's no roughen on anything. That's where we want to start, is with no roughen on anything at all. We're going to go to Object, Expand. There we go. And now the type is expanded. I'm also going to grab these little wigglies. I'm going to group those. And then I'm going to go to Effect, Distort and Transform, and Roughen. And we're going to do 0.3, I think that we had. And then up this a little bit right there. And maybe we want to do more here, 0.5. Maybe we want to do 1. There we go. 1 looks pretty good. That's the wobble that I'm looking for. And so from there, I'm actually going to outline this as well. I'm going to go to Object. I'm going to go to Expand Appearance. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this white part and just punch it out of a bunch of different pieces. So I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool here to punch it out of the airplane. Then I'm going to paste again, and I'm going to punch it out of the background. Right there, looks good. I'm actually going to delete this piece right here. All right. I don't necessarily need to punch it out of these letters, but guess what I'm going to? I'm going to punch it out of these letters as well. We lost our color on the letters, so I'm going to select those. And again, I'm just using the Pathfinder tool to kind of push that through. All right, and then the last one that we need to do is this stroke. So we're going to go ahead and Object, Expand Appearance again on that. And we're going to paste one more time. I'm hitting Control-Shift-V to paste that in place again and again and again. We're going to select that outside stroke, come to our Pathfinder, and knock that out as well. So now that looks pretty good. There's a little stray over here. Get out of here. And now we can apply that texture. Just move it back to the front. It needs to be in front of your object. Click to drag around it. Right there, make mask, invert mask, save, and across the board over in Photoshop, boom, updated. Super easy. InDesign, boom, updated. Let's go ahead and save Photoshop, see if it synced on our file. Let's actually come up here to share the options, and we might need to update content. There it is. So we can click on update content here in the share for review, and it's going to update this link. So let's give it a second to update. And from there, we are going to refresh. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes, it is updated with that texture, and we even have my comment in there that I made. So you can work across all kinds of apps right here using Creative Cloud libraries and linked objects. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you again another time for another creative challenge. Bye.